Welcome again, everyone. Today is going to be a very quick video. I just want to show you guys an alternate way for us to render our animations. One thing that you guys may have noticed in the previous section is that animations take a long time to render if we have a lot of textures or a lot of complexity to our scene. And it also becomes a big pain if we try to render something and something goes wrong and then we lose the entire thing. So we're going to learn about a slightly more complicated way to render animations, but one that's hopefully safer and also allows us to maintain progress. And once we do it once, re-rendering is much faster. So let's take a look at, I'm going to switch to my animation perspective, and I'm just really quickly going to set a couple of keyframes to get an animation started. So I'm going to keyframe my cube here, and then I'm going to jump to frame 90, and I'm only going to make this a 90 frame animation because I want it to go quick. And I'm going to move my cube to here, and I'm going to set another location keyframe. So if we watch this, the cube is just going to slowly move over the course of 3 seconds or so to the top right of the screen. And it'll leave my camera view. So let's take a look at what that looks like when we want to render it. Before, I had you guys, and we're only going to concern ourselves with the output section of the rendering tab. So this should look familiar to all of you because we rendered, most of us rendered movies last class. So this was the tab under which we render animations. And the last class I had you do a couple of things. The first thing I had you do was change PNG to, well, in your case we changed it to QuickTime. On Windows I changed it to H.264. We're actually going to leave it as PNG today. So the rendering that we're going to do, let's see, animations. Let's add another section here for alternate rendering. We're going to do a couple things. First step is we're going to render as images first. And this requires a new folder. Okay, and I'm going to show you guys how to do that. So we're going to render it out as images because once we render it as images, we're going to import the images and then render as a movie. What this allows us to do, it accomplishes a couple of things. The first thing is if we render as an image first, then it saves our progress. We'll end up with, if our rendering crashes partway through, we'll still have all the frames that we rendered up until that point. Let's say it crashes at frame 72. I will have 72 images that represent what I've rendered so far, so I don't have to go back and render those first 72 frames again. I'm going to show you what I mean. So first, we need to make a new folder. So I'm going to go to my output here. I'm going to open the output directory. I am going to go to Blender. I'm going to create a new folder. Now this step is really important because we're going to have a ton of images that get generated by Blender, so we want to make sure we have one folder to put them in. So inside my Blender folder, I'm going to do create new directory up here at the top. And I'm going to name it whatever the name of my animation might be. So I'm going to call it Cube Animation. And then in here, I'm going to give my animation a name, Cube Animation. And I'm going to click Accept. Now, if we look at our output, now we have Cube Animation as our output. Now, we need to be very careful that our file name does not have spaces. So where is it here? Requires a new folder. New folder should not have spaces in the name. Okay. So now with my cube animation set up and with PNG set, I'm going to go ahead and render the animation. Now I obviously don't have a lot of textures, so mine's going to render real quick. But if we go look at this folder, Blender, Cube Animation, Blender is generating a new picture for each frame. You can see we're on about frame 60 right now. And the beautiful thing about this is it numbers each of them. So if for some reason I got all the way through, this is my 90th frame, but if for some reason my animation ended, or my rendering crashed at frame 67, I would see that the last frame I did was 67, and I could go in here and start rendering again, but start rendering from frame, set my start frame to 67. See that over here? So I can choose which frame I want to start rendering and end rendering at. So even though I have a 90 frame animation, if I crashed at frame 68, I could start rendering at frame 68 and everything would be fine. So just keep in mind that it's a safer way to render because it provides us with some extra functionality. But now the problem is, or some extra safety rather, it gives us backups, right? We have all these frames as backups. The problem is that now I have all of these images, but I need to smush them together into an animation. So to do that, we are going to switch to our video editing view. So we're going to learn about a new view today. And in video editing view, we have this area here that acts as a timeline for our any video that we bring in. I'm going to go ahead and go back to frame 1. So what we're going to do in video editing view is we're actually going to bring in all of those images as what's called an image strip. So we're going to import the images as an image strip. And then we're going to render it again as a movie. So I'm going to go to frame 1. I'm going to go to add, and then image, and let's see here. We want Blender. We want cube animation. And then I'm just going to press A to select everything inside of the cube animation folder. And up here where it says add image strip, I'm going to click that. Now I have an image strip that I can play. And it shows what's going on. And now hopefully what we'll notice, now it may not be that different because this animation is so simple, but usually an image strip will render faster than the traditional animation. So I'm going to go back to my default view, and I am going to go to where it says animation. First I have to reset this to be a movie. So now that I have imported the images as an image strip, now I need to go back to my render settings and render it as a movie. So now I'm going to go ahead and do H.264. You guys are going to do QuickTime, but I don't have a QuickTime option because I'm on PC. And then I'm going to click animation. And it renders super fast because it's rendering from the pre-rendered images, not rendering each frame and then throwing them together. So it's a lot quicker. And then, if we go back to the folder that has all our images in it, we should also now have a movie. And the movie will play like normal. So this is just a simple trick. It does require you to render twice, but it's a simple trick that makes it so our rendering is safer, and it also guarantees that we won't lose whatever we rendered if we crash partway through. I hope that's helpful. We'll be making another animation tomorrow, so if you want, you guys can try out this technique.